everybody, welcome to Eden Fractal meeting number 62. Today is Wednesday, August 9th. I'm here with Eric and Rosmari and Perry and Jorge and Duane and Gnome and Tadas. We have been talking about fruits a little bit. We're talking about Perry's fruits, which are definitely real behind him. We got a nice pineapple there and all sorts of fractal pleasures from the tropics, actually. We might say a banana, true. It's not a fake banana, from what I've heard. And we're a couple minutes past top of the hour, so we're going to go into breakout rooms and go to the top of the hour for the breakout rooms shortly. I'm going to share a quick presentation to give a little recap of recent weeks and topics on the agenda for today. A new game, a new Cagendas mini game called Tropics that I'm proposing here. And I'm looking forward to sharing with y'all. So if anyone wants to say hello or wave or just share something on your mind real quick, then feel free. If not, then I can jump in this presentation. And feel free to also jump in now or afterwards as well. All right. So welcome, edenfractal.com/welcome, where you can see this imagery to welcome everybody here. And of course, edenfractal.com, everybody's aware of it, but you can learn more and you can watch our recent episodes too. So we just released the episode 60. Episode 61 is coming up soon. We talked about ways to grow communities. Actually, I should have brought that up, but we just released Respect Trees episode where Tadas proposed this idea of respect trees. I know Jorge has also been advocating for it in several places. So that's really cool to see. And encourage you to check out this episode, share with friends some really cool stuff. We've also been making really cool art with Rosmari too for the thumbnails and the description. We also talked about the future Cagendas, which we're going to be discussing more today, and growing Eden and stuff like that. And then also if you wanted to go to edencreators.com/growing communities, and you can see what we talked about last week. That video will be coming out soon. And of course, you can always check out Eden Creators YouTube channel, youtube.com/@EdenCreators to see all the new Eden Fractal videos we're publishing, as well as Eden Town Halls and many others. And then speaking of town halls, we also released a new town hall with Perry and Rosmari this week, A Tale of More Equal Animals, where we discuss a little bit more about Eden and all sorts of cool stuff too that I recommend people check out. I say edentownhall.com, but we don't have much time right now, so I'm just going to mention that we're going to go play Cagendas after we go into the breakout rooms, and that's where we can discuss topics and propose topics and so forth this week. I'm still working with Vlad. I figured out that the Wax consortium is superior in many ways to the EOS consortium, so it has filtering and stuff like that. So at some point, it might be nice to help Vlad build this, maybe get some funding for Vlad to upgrade it so we can sort it. But right now, it's kind of messy. But I did just make a topic proposal, which I believe is the only topic proposal. It's called the Eden Fractal Tropics. And I'm proposing to play a new kind of agenda mini game called Tropics. And basically, I can share list potential topics and agenda items on a Notion page like we discussed during our 59th meeting. And then anyone who has 100 respect points and more, I can invite as a guest to the Notion page. So you can add your own topics there as well. And I'll provide more details about that. And then I'll also set up a Slido poll too, where we can vote on the topics real time. So normally we discuss like one topic a meeting, sometimes two, but now I have this database in Notion of several different topics that we can discuss, and we can vote on them real time using Slido to determine which topic that we want to discuss the most. I just put together a bunch that might be things that we might want to discuss, and people can add to it. I'll go more into details. Also a page at edencreators.com/tropics where you can learn more about this, as well as see some giraffe themed imagery. But anyway, we can get into that, and encourage you to vote or make topics if you have anything else on your mind. And without further ado, I suppose we can go into breakout rooms, and we'll do a little bit shorter. We'll do 52 minutes or so until the top of the hour for the breakout rooms. If anybody wants to share any thoughts now before we head in, then feel free. All right, it looks like everybody's pretty quiet and enjoying the time, so I hope that you enjoy the breakout rooms. They're now open, and look forward to seeing you back in the community room. Have fun.
Well, what a wonderful room.
Well, here we are.
It got even better.
It got even better. Hey, Duane.
Hello.
Good day, good day.
Good day to you, sir.
This is going to be a tough room. Jeez.
Mm-hmm. Tough in a good way.
Yeah, tough is good. Tough is good for all of us. It's good for all of us. We should have, every room should be a very competitive room.
Yeah, that's how we like it. Competition inspires inspires people to thrive. I was just trying to remember. Oh, I just got a reminder too, Perry, about to start the election too. So I'm going to do that. So once we do
Oh,
have a competitive room, we will have to vote. But I hit to snooze it. So I'm going to remember to do it in a couple minutes.
okay. Okay. Yeah, it passed my. I didn't remember it, but eventually I probably would have.
Right. Eventually, it came up.
I'm gonna just give my my signal anyway. There it is.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If for anybody who might be watching, Perry just put up the graffiti cannon or whatever you called it in the Zoom emoji space, which is
The
some.
con,
What's up?
the confetti horn is what
Confetti
I
horn.
yeah.
Yep.
The confetti horn.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thank you for the confetti horn. I always love seeing confetti flying out of a horn. Nothing quite like it. Would anybody like to go first and share what they're up to? Or does anybody else have anything else on their mind that they want to talk about first?
I'll go. I'm happy to go first. Um, you guys have probably noticed I've been a little bit occupied in Eden on EOS, and I've been expressing myself about certain efforts, certain projects within the group, which has brought a lot of attention to me, negative attention. So I would say that's been occupying a little bit of my bandwidth, is responding to the negative attention. The other thing that I've been doing is proactively. Uh, I've been trying to make every work group meeting on Eden on EOS, and is part of that because of how I feel about what we're doing here in this group, and how I feel about the Eden fractal ranking process, and all of that. I've been actively trying to promote that within that group. I think that would only be a positive thing. So that along with continuing to develop my best case scenario for how a DAO could be architected. So that's kind of an ongoing thing that I'm participating in mentally as I'm participating in Eden on EOS and here as well. I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to formulate and ask myself, how would I do it? How would I, if I had my way, how would I do it? What would I suggest? And I'm just learning. I'm just taking all that information in. At the same time, I'm trying to make suggestions, constructive suggestions, as I go along. Unfortunately, not very many of them are being responded to at this moment. I think eventually they'll see the light on those things, but at the moment they're, in the case of Eden on EOS, they haven't really seen them. Some of them have, and the most recent, along with Jorge and I'm not sure if Duane, if you chimed in on that, you were elected lead at the dev circle, but you were very quiet, which was interesting, and taking in information, which I find to be a positive thing for a leader, is to listen. So I thought that was kind of cool. But what Jorge and I were doing, and I can't remember if there was anybody else that was promoting it in that meeting. We're promoting the idea that the processes that we're using here could actually be used to do the voting Eden on EOS election, and drop the Edenia, because Edenia is not really participating, and they're not showing up for the meetings. And so not everybody's really excited about continuing with them. So it seems natural, let's simplify the architecture and do more on Telegram, and that I think would be a positive. And Tadas, how can I forget Tadas? Tadas was in the meeting, and it was perfect. So the suggestion was made that Tadas modify the fractal ranking process to accommodate an upvote, and just simply eliminate the ranking portion of it, where instead of ranking 6 people, we're just basically choosing one within 2 consecutive rounds. And if you do that, if you basically take our rating process, you've recreated the upvote, right? So it kind of makes sense architecturally. So that's what we've been pushing for over there, and that's my report. So thank you. That was I don't know how long that was. That was probably my longest share ever. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Thank you very much, Perry. Great to hear from you. I really appreciate all your work.
Dan, you're in my upper left corner, so those are the rules.
Those are the rules. Although if Duane or Rosmari do want to go first, then of course I'd be happy to hand it over to them first. Sure. But I can go if Duane or Rosmari don't want to go. I'm pretty much ready to go, I think so. But if you want to jump in, then of course.
Ready. Well, if you're not ready, then I pick Rosmari.
Was Rosmari ready, or?
Oh,
because I know Rosmari's been preparing some presentations lately too, so she might be in the same position as me. What's that, Rosmari?
Duane's up. Duane's ready.
All right. Yeah, the even on EOS, I believe they said Edenia has a standing contract for 1,800 EOS per month, right? Something like that. So
that's what we heard, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So not state the obvious, there's not much of a budget there, but I'm looking forward to the proposal on that. So we can put in a proposal to say, hey, let's implement this. And then for next season, we've heard many times it's spaghetti code, so it doesn't seem like it's the long-term prospect of keeping this fractured spaghetti code going doesn't seem reasonable. So, and the reason I'm mentioning any of this is that, contractors through some sort of a process over there that will straighten out, I guess, do get paid. And it has been mentioned that each one of the working groups over there get to decide if they want to use the fractal process. But at least in the tech group, we had both Perry and Jorge bring that up, and I think Jorge is going to put a proposal together. So just kind of a heads up that could be an opportunity for training, funding, and then ongoing, how we actually use Eden. For our fractal, to be honest, I've been going out more than ever, meeting with different local groups. And it's exciting to see that governance is an issue that needs to be solved. So yeah, more excited than ever to see that these fractal processes, there's an ability to expand. Working on a direct-to-consumer cooperative where consumers have a little bit of a say in their products. In this case, it's food. It'd be interesting to see how we could empower consumers to have some fun games around their co-op. And if it comes to fruition, it'd be interesting to see how, there's funding models for these other groups that use our tools. So that's kind of been what's been on my brain. Yeah, obviously embedded and doing work for Alien Worlds as well. So it'd be interesting to see. It's interesting to see that there's new DAC and DAO tools coming out, right? I've been working with Hypha a little bit, but there's some tools I think coming down the pipeline for Alien Worlds as well. So it'd be interesting to see where these really find a market mix where we can actually expand our groups. What else have I done? Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think that's about it. Next person on my page is Dan.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thank you very much, Duane. Okay, cool.
Dan looks busy, and I saw Rose. She gave us the model. She gave us that. That means she's ready.
You may have noticed my long drawn out thank you to Duane while I was buying myself time to pull up another window that I just remembered. If you want to go first, Rosemary, feel free, of course. But also, I'm happy to go if you want. Either way works.
Save Dan, save him.
Yeah.
In the future, I really should get
Okay.
this prepared in advance, but he's such his life.
Yes. Same here. So, okay, I'm gonna also share my screen now.
Cool.
Right. So to begin with, I promoted the message. Well, promoted the message. I put out the message and distributed in Telegram groups about this meeting. Then I've been editing loads of videos. For example, I edited this video, EF60, for when Tadas showed the presentation of the respect trees tool. Then ETH55, so the town hall with Perry. It was released yesterday. I also collaborated, for example, with Dan on the thumbnails, and as well as this thumbnail here. We started making mini competitions to which one is going to create the best thumbnail for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then we compare. So that's been fun. I also joined the open mic last Friday, I think it was, yes, which Eric organized. It was on the Center for Governance building at the Lisa's Coffee Shop, which is on the last floor on Duane's grassy coastline at Planet Ike, which is in Alien World. And it was really fun, and I already so I got access to the video. I'm due to start editing that video, and soon it will be released on the channel, on Eden Creators channel. But also we did another workshop kind of series where it was part of the Eden Town Hall last week on Monday with Eric, who that was just before the event, and we were still brainstorming on ways to create the event and sort of last touch-ups. And this video is now is edited and it will soon be uploaded. So that's the next Eden Town Hall 56 it will be. And also I joined the Fractalien Worlds meeting. That was on Monday, and I promoted it here in the Fractalien Worlds chat. So that was nice. Dan was hosting this one. And also I just made some slight edits to the videos page on edenfractal.com. For example, I made sure that I uploaded all the thumbnails instead of the videos because it was covering most of the picture with the title and the YouTube logo in here. So now it's just much more clear for everyone to come through and enjoy the artwork here. And also, I'm trying to be quick. I have to be quick. We worked alongside Dan on some AI tools. He took the initiative and showed me how to better utilize our processes for the moment. For example, with show notes and timestamps and whatnot. And just we're forming up new processes of ways to go about faster, producing faster, to produce those videos faster and using AI tools finally, because it's been on our to-dos for a long time, and we've been using Notion to go through projects and topics, and I think Dan would cover most of that. And I almost finished editing the devs episode with Tadas on respect trees. Devs stands for discussing in fractal stuff, and that's gonna be the second episode. I don't have it's not yet edited, but it's almost done. I'm just collecting some key moments to do the intro, to put in the intro part, and that's soon going to be released, maybe this week or possibly next week, but probably this. And yes, I also started editing another devs video with Tadas again. And finally, the EF62, which is from the meeting from last week, that video is now edited, and I also created a thumbnail for that, and it's going to be uploaded probably today or tomorrow too. And that's it from me. Thank you. Dan, are you ready?
Yes, I'm now ready.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
And over to
Rosmari.
you. Sorry for taking longer than expected.
No problem. There's only 4 of us, and you did a bunch of amazing stuff. So I'm happy to hear more detail about it, and we have time for it. I think Perry wants to say something now.
How'd you know that? I didn't do anything except put my mouse on my screen. What?
Telekinesis. I just knew. I tapped into the pineapple behind you. Not just joking. You hit unmute, and then your mouth was moving. It was pretty easy to tell.
You can tell when my mouse is moving? Oh my god, I'm scared.
No, I'm saying your mouth. You unmuted, and then you were like that or something. So it looked like you wanted to say something.
I was just gonna say that when Rosmari explains and shares your screen, I don't become nauseous following the screen.
Is this in comparison to somebody else who we may or may not mention, who may or may not be me? It would be me. I hope I don't make you nauseous. Does it really make you nauseous? Is it difficult to? Because I guess I scroll up and down too often. I go too fast.
When you get going with the screen and the voice, I'm telling you, it's process overload. It's process overload.
Okay.
But it's a lot of information. Yeah, it's a lot of information. But I know you're working on it. It's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
Thank you very much for the feedback, Perry.
My brain worked that quickly.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm happy to help give your brain a little workout, but I'll try not to make you nauseous though. And it is good that we have a lot of good stuff to share. But I'll try to also learn from Rosmari and learn from your feedback there and taking it slower. And I've heard that feedback several times, but I could certainly get better in these presentations with both how I share it and present it. So I'll do my best to provide a enjoyable and non-nauseating experience for you. And with that being said, I suppose I'll now go in. Thank you so much, Rosmari and Duane and Perry. And so I just want to share some of the stuff that I've been working on here. And as you can see, I'm just a lot of stuff I've been working on here. You could just check out. And yeah, I'm just talking over here. I just figured I would just play with you a little bit there. Okay, so yeah. Steady scroll. Oh, sorry, my finger got a little excited there. But anyway, yeah. So Rosmari was sharing. I was working on Rosmari. We had the really fun idea of doing like thumbnail competitions, and of course, there's now a thing. But I did do the start elect button too, so that's something that I've done, and I can turn that off. So it went off 3 times before I was able to do it. But anyway. Yeah, I was working on this with Rosmari, so I think these thumbnails are getting really cool. We've been using Midjourney and other art tools as well, along with the art tools that we already know how to use, like more manual stuff to get something really nice. There's some really nice images to help promote it, and then also just working on making the text as like helpful as possible. How can we coordinate? How can communities coordinate to maximize mutual benefit? We draw inspiration from fractals in nature and explore respect trees, an elegant primitive for collaborative thought, prioritization, and action. So we're trying to make, because we only share these things like once a week usually in the chats, but we want to make it just as helpful as possible. How will we share the greatest story of all time? We step into the arenas to play Cagendas, a social coordination game that helps communities sync up for creative collaboration and so forth. So I'm working with Rosmari on making these as exciting as possible, and a lot of credit there to Rosmari. And as she said, we've been using a lot of AI tools. 2 ones in particular that I've been testing over the past few days are Claude from Anthropic, which works very well with with very detailed and long inputs. So for example, you can take a transcript from Eden Fractal meeting and create summaries from Eden Fractal meeting for the show notes. And many times before, I like all these link to show notes pages. And if you go down to one that we've done more recently, for example, EF54, I showed this in a recent week. We wrote some more detailed articles, and I was actually just writing this over the past week. So this is another contribution where we had written this previously, but I've just been expanding upon it and write it better because I think this is a really good story to tell. So that's something I did earlier in the week, but it's still not totally done. But yeah, basically we want to have like a article as well, as so people can watch the full video, but they can also read like some highlights. And so these AI tools are helpful for that. They can also help us make tweets, which we haven't had the chance to do so much because we've had enough on our plate just writing summaries and preparing topics and everything like that. But with Notion AI and Claude, Notion AI also can automate it in databases too, which is really nice. So we've been looking into this to automate like creation of show notes and automate creation of timestamps and Twitter's tweets and stuff like that. So lots of really exciting stuff here, like infrastructurally to cooperate better in the future. And I'll share more details with that soon as we have more results to share. And of course, Midjourney is a helpful tool as well, which I use to create this. I also shared some other links in the chat when Jorge and a couple other people were talking about it. So this is the idea that I shared last week for growing communities. This was inspired by the article that Tadas had written about fungibility and non-fungibility. And I'd added a lot of different ideas to this in addition to what Tadas read originally. And then I've been continuing to refine this. I met with Vlad and Tadas and brainstormed a lot about it over the weekend. So I'm continuing to work there and developing some brands that we can share this idea with and figure out the best way to design it to make the best experience possible. And I also worked a lot with Rosmari. She did, of course, all the video editing, and then we worked pretty closely on the thumbnail and the text and so forth. Since Perry's here, I'll just read it out. E55, A Tale of More Equal Animals. In the next chapter of our heroic journey, we explore concerns about Eden Eos, magical innovations to help humanity sync up, and Perry's motivations to kindle the flame of true democracy to settle art. So I've been participating a lot with the Eden Eos community as well. I've been listening to all the meetings and joining several of them. And this is part of sharing some guidance for the Eden Eos community, as well as talking about like the original foundations that brought us here together and a lot of things that we're doing here with Eden Fractal. So thank you, Perry, for sharing your thoughts there, and Rosmari for helping so much to both be on that episode with us and share your thoughts and also edit and produce a lot of this. As Rosmari mentioned too, we had the open mic night that Eric organized, and he asked me to host it at Lisa's Coffee Shop on Planet Ike. So there's a blog article here that I think Lisa put together, and she put together a lot of the different things, and Eric did as well, about like Zoom Reform background and stuff like that. I helped out with the voting because we use the Slido tool to vote on it, and then I also hosted it too. This event went quite well, a lot better than I could have imagined, I think. And I'm excited to do more of them in the future. Basically, it was about a 2.5-hour event. I have the video here, or about 2 hours, I guess. A little bit before we start recording, you could see 7 people on here, but there's really like 16 or 17 people who were there who were listening along. And then I also shared a little bit of a song, which I think you can hear it, where I'm just kind of like, doing the open mic night hosting. We used Slido and we did the rankings and stuff like that. We all had our backgrounds. So this is using tools that we kind of started pioneering in Eden Fractal with signals, and also inspired by Fractal DJ as well. I've also been working on Fractal DJ stuff, which I did not remember to include here, but I started to distribute the rewards. I haven't yet distributed them, but I started to curate article about like summarizing the Fractal DJ game we played. So this is like a next step here. I'm planning to do more of it to bring these tools and games to wider audiences. It was great to hear Rosmari singing as well, and hear from Duane and everybody there, and also in continuing engagement with the Alien Worlds community. I see Rosmari said that, and that's not AI generated. Impressive. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there. Feel free to jump in. I see that was 4 minutes ago though, so I'm sorry. I just saw that, Rosmari, in the Zoom chat.
That was the description for E55.
Oh yes, yeah. All the stuff that we write, AI just can't quite cut it yet, but we're looking forward to using AI more there. I see Perry's unmuted too, so if you want to jump in with anything, Perry, then feel free. But otherwise, I can keep going. And thank you, Rosmari, for editing that. And then, yeah, I've been continuing to grow fractally in Alien Worlds. I made a proposal a couple weeks ago for Fractalien World and developing this brand around it, which is still underway. And also the Eden Creators Alien Worlds Fractal. Haven't really updated this as much, but the article that I wrote for 54 goes towards that. And I'm continuing to just, I hosted the Alien Worlds Fractalien Worlds meeting on Monday. I'm continuing to do so now on a volunteer basis. And also, I co-hosted the EOShip meeting and joined the Crown Deck call, where we talk a lot about Fractally and Eden Fractal and how to grow and stuff like that, and also participated and helped out with the Aquadac meeting where we're also pioneering these processes as well. And I rewatched some of Rosmari's interview to learn Gudasol's ideas for building NFT memo systems that could help with the gardening idea. That's really interesting. And then also just before today, I proposed a new minigame called Tropics, which I explained before. New minigame that can help us organize our topics for future Eden Fractal meetings as well as this one. And we can go into that more in detail. I've probably been over 5 minutes now, but I put together this database of topics and I added more detail to some of the topics. Like for example, the Tello sessions I've been thinking of for a while, a way to organize and figure out our mission in a better way in our Telos, which is our ultimate purpose. So some of these different things, as well as the Zoom news and alternative solutions. I was writing some messages in the chat to figure out the best way to go forward with that. And I'm excited to share the Tropics game after the breakout rooms. So I suppose that's a good summary for now. And now if anybody has any questions or comments for anybody, that would be a great time to share.
That was a great speed. I'll just give you that positive feedback. I comprehended that completely. Thank you.
Excellent.
And
Thank you.
I think it's interesting that the interview with me is under the Story Times brand. Story Times. Okay, I like it.
You like that? Yeah. Well, thanks for the feedback. I'm glad it was more interpretable. What was that saying? I'm sorry, I cut you off a bit there. Oh,
What's that?
I was saying, what were you saying? Because I feel like I started speaking while you were still speaking, so I wasn't sure if you were adding anything and I missed anything you said. Was there anything you wanted to add there?
Well, I was just just the Story Times. The Story Times. That's all.
Yeah, that was something I think Rosmari thought of that because it was kind of like you were sharing stories about your history, which is really interesting. And there was like a different narrative to it. And then I thought like it would be cool to tie in with more equal animals and the imagery and stuff like that. So we kind of had like a little fairy tale kind of feel to it, which I think was fun.
Yeah. My resume, Story Times.
Well, it's your resume, but it's also you're telling a story about, like how you got into EOS and how you got into all these things and the story about why you're so you're such an advocate for these principles to help people cooperate more democratically and decentralized and peacefully and so forth. So I suppose maybe I should have read it for you before we published it. That might have been a good idea. So my apologies if there were any issues. We can change something if you prefer.
No, I haven't seen it, but no, I'm not being critical. I actually think it's great. And Story Times. That's fun. That's fun.
Excellent.
I like it. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you like it. And yeah, we didn't edit anything from the actual video, I don't think, except for just like the very, just like the minor things, just to cut out blank space maybe. I don't know, Rosmari left it all pretty much entirely there, but otherwise we just made a nice little picture and text to explain it, and we're looking forward to sharing with the community soon. And hope that everybody will enjoy watching. I recommend people to watch. It's very interesting to hear all of Perry's history and then all the discussions about Eden as well.
I forgot how much I shared about my history. I know that I haven't shared everything for sure. Yeah.
Looking forward to maybe a sequel to Story Time or another story sometime.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to wait for the right moment for that. We'll have to wait for the right moment for that. I've had a lot of different jobs, all relating to IT. Yeah, a lot of different experiences. It goes back to the early 90s, actually before that. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I'd love to hear about it. It's fascinating hearing so far. So I'm sure you have all sorts of cool stuff that me and many others would enjoy hearing. So when the time is right, let us know. We can bring you up on the town hall or somewhere else as well.
They would answer a lot of questions about my behavior here for a lot of people, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful to know too. And I feel like, sometimes people do like jump in and stop you from speaking sometimes, which I feel like I'd like to hear from you more. So I was really appreciative that you shared more details. And it also is like there's a lot of wisdom behind what you're sharing, backed up by experience and so forth. So I think it's nice that people can hear you speak more on that and to understand more about where those ideas come from.
I think it would be a positive thing, cultural thing within our group to, you know, to make a distinction between whether you agree with somebody and whether, you know, censorship and agreement don't necessarily, right? We can hear people we completely disagree with, right? I think that's okay. That's okay to hear people. Totally disagree with them, but let's just hear them, and then that's okay. So, you know, I don't have any power within any of these groups. I mean, okay, I'm an MSIG on this group, and occasionally I'm a delegate, but other than that, I don't have any power, and I'm not really actively searching for that power. I mean, yesterday when Duane was elected, Patrick asked me if I wanted to be the dev lead, and I passed on that, even though I don't know Duane's history, but I'm going to guess I have more than anybody in that entire group that's shown up, right? More experience with tech, but I'm not looking for lead positions. That's not what I'm looking to do. What I'm looking to do is change it and support those people who want to take those positions. For me, those positions are going to be a lot of busy work, and I'm not really the best person for busy work. I just kind of know that about myself. So I think that wouldn't be my highest and best use, right? Organizing meetings and that kind of thing. I'm just not. I would be bad at that. So, but I do have a lot of experience to draw from. So I'm glad other people are taking those positions. So I'm glad Duane is taking that position. I don't know, Duane, how much experience you have in the actual tech, and I'm not saying it's necessarily it's necessary to be, you know, to have years or even any experience directly with tech if you're handling people and you're handling ideas in a good way. I do know that you got a lot of experience in the agriculture, in the area of agriculture, but can you tell us what you've done in technology?
Yeah, we started some of the first traceability systems way back when agriculture was kind of a closed system. And I'm not a developer, but I've led tech teams. My company CSX was the first blockchain company incorporated in Wyoming, which we never knew how Wyoming would turn out with DACs and DAOs, but it was just, you know, just going to happen that way. So ran a team of tech and devs where I was just more the project lead and the founder. So I know enough to be dangerous as far as, you know, knowing a little bit about a lot, but I'm not a developer myself. But
You're a product manager.
it's funny because you tell people you're into this stuff, and locally I have people calling me out and saying, we need some computer work. And I'm like, well, that's not that specific, guys. But the bottom line is I'm able to go into some of these scenarios, and if not knowing how to being like the developer, I'm usually able to solve a lot of issues. I find most people don't, most people that are really embedded into it don't read the instructions or go back to the basics. So I'm able to figure out some complex problems for people when they're maybe too close to the situation. But yeah, I've been more in the role of like the guy funding the programs and managing the teams. So in this one, I was thinking, well, I can keep consensus in the group. I can listen to what's needed. And it seems like it's pretty concise as far as what we need this term. So, and I don't need another role, to be honest. but I thought it's doable, you know what I mean? Keep people on track for meetings and update a couple of things. But yeah, it's a bit of my history.
That sounds awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was block producer. Like I ran a team of we were a block producer on all the chains since the no go start, of EOS. So did that for a long time. Yeah.
Which block producer?
CSX.
CSX.
Or CSX Community, I guess was the block producer name. But yeah, I lost my devs. Some of them had breakdowns, some of them just stopped. So we're not producing blocks right now.
Okay. Well, that is wow. That's great to hear. I'm happy to hear that. Awesome. We have hope. We have hope. Wow. Okay. I like it. I also like AJ taking position there. Kind of feels like a fresh look at everything. He seems open-minded to a lot of stuff, so that's That's awesome. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than what just happened yesterday, I think we're in good shape. Right?
Well, it's just about listening. I think a lot of, a lot of times people aren't listening to the whole question. You know what I mean? They're already coming up with the response because they just imagine where the question's going, right? So,
I'm referring to Eve's Twitter space.
oh, I gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
The
uh,
announcement.
I'll just say, yes, that was a very interesting announcement. We have about 15, 16 minutes left here. I've been trying to get Fractalgram to work, but for whatever reason, it's just not loading for me right now. I was able to start up the group, but then it wouldn't create the polls for me. And then when I'm trying to link my
I'm
device,
gonna.
it's not working. Okay, thanks, Rosmari.
I already started. I already created a new group.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Are you able to, oh, it looks like you created a channel, not a group. There's two different options in Telegram. One is a channel, one's a group, and channel is only broadcasting. So we want to do a group where everybody can post. Otherwise, it won't work with the channel.
Right. Okay. I'll create a new one.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I opened up Fractalgram web app in 3 different browsers, and at first it was opening in one browser, but it wouldn't give me the option to create the poll. And then the 3 different browsers, I tried logging out, and none of them are working now. Log in. Also, Perry, I know I kind of jumped in there, but if you wanted to continue talking about that while Rosemary sets it up, oh, it looks like Rosemary now has made it work and asked for the account prompt. If anybody has any questions or comments related specifically to people's contributions to or people's work with Eden Fractal, then maybe those should be prioritized, and maybe we should do the consensus first and then come back to the conversation about Eve's announcement and all that stuff too, after we do the ranks.
I'll just point out that Rosmari is the only one that's actually doing any work. The rest of us are just talking. We're just talkers.
Well, I wouldn't quite say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
She is doing a lot of good work though.
Oh God. Is that okay? That's a link that I need to join.
Yeah, but that link that I shared was mine. That's not working. So I think Rosemary invited you. There's only 3 members here, so somebody's not invited here yet.
Well, I have a prompt.
Yeah, Perry, you're in the up.
Am I in the wrong one?
I think so, and I don't think there was a prompt in the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, Rosemary asked me to please generate the prompt, and I said I'm trying, but we can share the link with you to this one.
I cannot
Actually,
vary because of the privacy settings.
oh yeah.
Okay, here.
I was just able to do it, Perry. Maybe
Now I'm
very near
gonna
context.
do the prompt again.
Yeah, do the prompt again because Perry can't see
I
it.
didn't realize. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And we just wait on you, Perry.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, the summary of yesterday's Twitter space is that ENF has cut out 3 programs: the Yield Plus, Pomelo, and the Grants program, which essentially amount to public giveaways of some form. And in exchange for that, we've gotten, and mostly targeted to the Western community. And in exchange for that, we now have private venture capital entity called EOS Labs that has been opened up, that is a private entity, venture capital. So that money, a third of the ENF budget has been moved over to that group. So
I think it's 25%, but also just as a note, we have 10 minutes left, and so far we haven't had a vote from Perry yet. So far,
okay. Sorry, you guys are silently working. Okay, level 6. Level 6. Okay. I'm gonna go. Wow. Okay. All right. Excellent. How did I get a vote? Okay. Good.
Really?
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, good.
Oh,
All right. Rosmari gets the winner.
all right, there you go.
oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, level 5 is now up.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna do that. Oh,
Oops, I
even
hit the wrong one there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay. So we have 2 votes for Perry from me and Rosmari, a vote from me from Duane, and a vote for Duane from Perry. And it looks like somebody just switched somebody.
Yeah, I'm getting lagged results here.
Oh no, it still looks the same actually. It looks like it changed on my interface on this, but it didn't change here. Does anyone advocate for anyone either way? Or share why they voted for who they voted for?
Well, I voted for Duane because he stepped up to the dev lead, which is really a very brave. But given his background though, I'm glad. I mean, he's prepared for it. So yeah, I wasn't sure whether he was prepared for it, but now after hearing what he told me, then it's a good choice, and I'm glad he's done that. It's not that's not an easy choice because there's a lot of chaos that's ahead in the dev group, right? So that was a brave choice. So that's why I voted for Duane. He's a brave man.
Voted for Dan besides all the things he's doing on the back end, just the front end and managing these meetings and always showing up as a volunteer. Deserves my respect.
Oh God, we've got too many gracious people in this room.
I voted for Perry because you've been advocating, as you say, for hidden fractals process. And I've heard so many times doing that. And I haven't seen you ranked as level 6, level 5 at least for a long time. And I think you deserve it. And maybe it's a bit delayed now because you've been advocating for so long. But now I get the chance to give you some respect for that.
I think you're just promoting your new video.
I wasn't thinking about that, but maybe as a thing, if you think.
I changed my vote to Perry because he did a strong backup yesterday as far as making it seem like a simple choice that's the way Eden should move. So yeah, it's without those people in the room advocating, we wouldn't have these seeds planted. So yeah, good job.
Ooh, seeds planted. I like it.
Yes, very fractal. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I voted for Perry originally too. and then I retracted, but then I just put it back for Perry. Because I really appreciate what Perry's doing there too. Made the video very nice. Everyone's finished clapping. So, it was great for the town hall, but then also I really appreciate hearing your thoughts in all of the Eden on EOS and also in the fireside chats and stuff when you speak out advocating for what we're doing here. I appreciate that a lot. So,
This is what I meant. I didn't mean that. I meant advocating for fractal processes outside that Eden town hall video. I was referring to fireside chats and delegates meetings and the other Eden and EOS meetings.
I'm not sure what the problem with the first thing you said was, so I'll look at the video. I didn't figure out that there was anything wrong with what you said, but I guess there was. Okay.
There was nothing wrong. Thank you again. Okay, I'm going to do level 4 now.
okay.
Oh, how do we do this? How do we do this? This is horrible. Jesus. You're the host, Dan. You get too much attention. You've got so many tokens. Oh my God.
Well, it looks like we're split. Me and Perry voted for Duane, and Rosmari and Duane voted for myself. I know Duane already advocated for me, so I could switch to myself, and I'm happy to do so. I do think that I did a lot this week. I was even thinking about voting for myself in the last one because I think with stuff that we're doing with seeds and growing community, and also the tropics, I think like I'm working a lot on these things, and they're really valuable and really helpful. But also Duane is just like an incredible leader too, and I really appreciate what he's doing on the ground, and also for so long in the Alien World Fractal. So I'm happy to go either way, really. Yeah, either way, I'm happy basically.
It's so difficult because we come to expect you doing a lot of stuff, right? So it's almost like just to give feedback on this process, not necessarily you, Dan, but it's weird. It's almost like there's a baseline Dan contribution, right? And you're almost competing with yourself week to week in other people's minds, right? It's almost not against the rest of us. It's weird. It's a weird effect. So how could we possibly put you last? We know how much you're doing. We know you're doing a ton of things. You're obviously producing a ton of stuff, but it's just, yeah. How does that work? What does that work?
I just want to have a reflection back to flashback I had back to Sybase and when Dan Larimer was involved, and the difference between Dan's is the other Dan would walk into the room and assume and almost dictate that of course he's number one because he's funding, volunteering, doing it all. And then sometimes he'd even just like try and say, oh, my other team members, of course you're going to vote him next. So I really appreciate the humbleness and the difference between the attitude on like, saying, just assuming and, taking it for granted that they're number one. So I think for that sake of the humility, I say, give your vote to Dan. I'm not saying I'm not humble, but
Yeah, you created yourself.
It takes a good leader. It takes a good leader to be generous and humble, right? So
that's true. That's true.
Well, sounds good. We only do have 2 minutes left, so I will humbly vote for myself, I guess, just to reach consensus. And thank you, Duane. That's very kind of you, and you are also very humble too. And yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot. But anyway, we have to come to consensus. Duane's doing a lot. We have to do a delegate too before the 2 minutes. So does anyone want to be a delegate, or who wants to be a delegate? And I can also open up the delegate spreadsheet right now to see who is a delegate.
Maybe this week is my last week. the delegate? Maybe not. Maybe next week is my last.
I'm looking it up right now, and I see right now we're in Council 44. Council 41 was me and Gnome. Rosmari, you were in 42, and I was in 43. So I'm 2, but one of mine is inspiring next week, and you have 1, and that's inspiring next week. Perry, Duane, are you interested in being a delegate, or would you like to be a delegate again, Rosmari?
I wonder, do we have any votes coming up?
Nothing that is proposed as of right now, but we never know what we propose in the next 4 weeks. But if you're a delegate,
Yeah,
then you can have more say in there.
yeah, I'll take it. And if no one else wants it, I'll take it.
I'm happy to support Perry as delegate.
Me too.
Okay. Great.
Thank you. So, wow, I got the good spot and delegate. Yeah, this is a good week.
Perry's top spot.
Yeah. I didn't get the top spot, but I got a good spot.
Represent. Oh, you didn't get the top spot? Oh, yeah, Rosmari got the top spot. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. So, if you could please do the thing, Rosmari, then I would appreciate that.
Do the thing. Yes.
Do the thing. You know what I mean.
Do all the things.
Yeah.
That's what Patrick would say. Do the things.
Do the things. We do it because we love to do what we do. we do what we love. We know why we do it. All the Pattersons. Okay, great. Thank you for doing that thing, Rosmari. And it's been a wonderful meeting with everybody. So thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thanks for all the things.
Yes. Really appreciate it. I will hit the close breakout rooms thing here. And then if anyone else wants to say anything in the next 60 seconds, we can. Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yo, Tadas. No, Gnome. All right. Is anybody else in your breakout room? I saw Space Ranger Joe was in the other breakout room too. Is this everybody we have, or are there more people who are still coming in?
There was Eric also.
Eric, yeah. I guess they're just on their way.
Last week when I was being, my Zoom crashed as breakout rooms ended, so maybe the same thing happened to him.
Okay. Yeah, maybe until they're both there right before you left. And I know Eric has sometimes had issues with Zoom, and maybe Space Ranger Joe too. But you think
Yeah,
they'll be
and
here soon?
Joe had to leave. He said he has some work. So.
Okay. Oh, and there's Eric. Speaking of the man. Okay, cool. Well, I can go and share the topics on the agenda now if everybody's ready, or if anybody else has anything on your mind that you want to share first, then feel free to go ahead. Looks like Perry's inspired.
I'm inspired to say that my transaction isn't going through.
Oh,
Not sure why.
I'm pretty sure it should be. Yeah, I encourage everybody to do that if you haven't already. I did trigger the action, but maybe it didn't go through. I haven't actually confirmed to see if everything is working correctly. I'll try myself now too.
For me, it said that the account wasn't correct or something like that. Oh, the account didn't exist.
The account didn't exist. Are you sure you typed in your account properly?
You have to put a placeholder on that 5th spot, Dan.
Oh yeah, yep, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah, that 5th spot we need to just add. We can add, what is it, Eden MSig 111. Is that a good one to add? Eden MSig.
So you're talking about the word says level 2.
Yeah, level 2. We need to add something there. We can add Eden frac test there as well.
Okay, so EDEN FRACTEST.
Yep, that's correct.
And all lowercase, no problem.
Yep, that is how it should work. Basically, the way that that works is if there's only 4 people, then it doesn't, only 4 counts, and it doesn't work. So you have to edit on a fifth account.
I'll share a new link in the chat.
Okay,
with
great. Thank you, Rosmari. And I was just able to submit it successfully by typing in manually. So it should be working.
Success.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, so I suppose now I can get into the topic. Or just provide an overview of the topic. Sorry for speaking slowly once again. I was just trying to get myself organized, but I'm ready to go though. And I'm excited to share this with you. I have a really cool new idea. Looking forward to seeing what everybody thinks about it. And I will share my screen now. All right, so welcome back into the community room. Hope you all had a great time at the breakout rooms. We're going to play Cagendas, and everybody knows how to play Cagendas here by now, but in case anybody is watching, here's how we do it. This is what we can do to make topics and so forth. And the topic on the agenda, well, I just put together a quick topic, and also put together a page at edencreators.com/tropics, which is a little bit of play on word and a fractal way of doing topics, I suppose. I've been thinking of this brand for a while. We just started to make it, and it's got a giraffe, going back to the idea of more equal animals and also nonviolent communication with giraffe here. I can explain more about the reason for that artwork later, but basically I just put this proposal up on consortium. I didn't put the link there, but you can find it there if you want. And the plan that I suggested here is to play a new kind of agenda minigame. It's called Tropics. And so we get started where I can share a list of potential topics and agenda items on a Notion page. And then we discussed this in Eden Fractal 59, the future Cagendas, which was about 3 weeks ago. That was one of the solutions that I brought up as like a near-term solution to improve our Cagendas game and workflow and how we discuss topics. And the way I think this can work best, open to feedback too if you have a different idea in mind. But basically, I think I can give anyone access to the Notion page if they earn like at least 100 respect points. So I'm pretty sure everybody here has done that. And yeah, so basically anybody who wants access to the Notion page, I can invite you as a guest. And then that way you can write your own topics there too. So far, I've just started by writing a bunch of topics. Some of these I've been curating for a while, and some of them are just kind of quick topics I just put together on there. I think this can be a better way of organizing our agenda in many cases in the future. I recently started doing this in some of my other meetings of the week, where have like a database in Notion of different topics and then can go through them and order and prioritize them. In Notion, you can like drag up an option or a topic in the database, or you can use different filters to prioritize it. So it seems like it works pretty well. And so basically, I can give anyone access to this, so you can also add your own topics so we can discuss throughout the weeks, and you can also comment on other people's topics. And then I also just created a Slido poll too with all the topics on the list. And then we can change the.
Yeah, what's up, question?
Sure. Let me just finish reading this sentence though, because I was just in the middle of it. So I'll also I just create a Slido poll with all the topics on the list, and then we can change the topic depending on the Slido vote. We'll just do one person, one vote for now. We can eventually use signals like that, but that way everybody can change the topics they want to discuss the most, and then we can change the discussion topic in real time according to whatever people want to do the most. And that Slido, I'll share it here. If it's a tie or we don't know what topic we want to discuss yet or whatever, I have a couple in mind that I've already ordered it according to what I'd like to discuss first too. But if people want to discuss other ones, then we can vote on that one. And if you want to add more, then you can perhaps just share your email that you use with Notion. You can PM me if you want, or you could share it in the Zoom chat or wherever you feel comfortable. And then I can add you as a guest, and you can also write topics as well. And then I would add it into the Slido list as well. So this could work in the same way. If you want to talk about Gitcoin first, or about anniversary updates or whatever, then you can drag it, and then we could see what topics get the most votes in real time and so forth. That's kind of a high level overview. And Noam, did you want to share something now?
Yeah, I see Lisa, Duane, and I think somebody that starts with a D. It's either Dogman, it's either you or Pascal, I'm not sure. Because I can't see it right now. I was wondering if you already gave them permissions and they actually wrote this, or if or if it's something that you wrote because you got it from them.
Yeah, this is all just something I wrote. So far, I just have permissions to this page, and Rosmari also has permissions to this page, but I don't think anybody else does. So
when I see Lisa's name or Duane's name, it's you were inspired by them. It's not that they wrote it.
Yeah, so this was just I went through the consortium page and I saw, like, for example, Lisa made a poll, and this was the poll I was referring to there. I'm not sure if I took a screenshot of it, but if I open up consortium, then I just took Lisa's poll that she made a month ago. I don't know if she still wants to talk about this, but I just use it as an example. Basically, she put this poll about supporting Eden members of Eden Fractal. So I just kind of add that as an example if we want to talk about Lisa's topic, and then in the future she could make that topic herself. But I just did that just for the example sake right now.
You answered my question a lot earlier. Tadas has his hands up.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Noam. Tadas?
Yeah, so how do you plan to, how would you do this regarding the timing? Like, would the Slido poll be created before the meeting and we would start voting throughout the week, or would it happen live during the meeting?
That's a good question that I haven't yet thought about. So I was thinking about this yesterday night as I was like, what are we going to talk about for Eden Fractal? And I was like, I have all these topics that I want to discuss at some point, but I don't know what's the highest priority. And a lot of times in our meetings, like when me and you meet throughout the week to DAOs, or when I meet up with other people, then I just have like a bunch of topics and we kind of just be like, okay, well, maybe this topic takes just 2 minutes and then we can discuss this topic for 10 minutes and this topic and so forth. So I figured we could try that out. And for this meeting, I just created the Slido poll just because I didn't have too much time to do it. So I'll share that in the chat now so everybody can vote there. And then in the future, we could have it where I think it'd be great to have it on a weekly basis, where this is always live. Eventually, you could also sync it up with like who's a delegate or how much respect points people have, or maybe respect trees or something like that, where you can have it throughout the week and people can vote on the topic throughout the week. But for now, I just created a Slido poll that we could vote on throughout this meeting right now. Thank you for sharing the sparkly heart, Rosmari. Glad you like it. And thanks also for the inspiration. You helped a lot designing and figuring out this idea a few weeks ago when we were talking about it before the future of Cagendas video. So does that answer your question, Tadas?
Yeah, so I guess we would just start voting live. I guess that would be easiest.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise it would require more planning and stuff. And would this poll be open to anyone with who has a link?
Yeah, it's open to anyone who has a link. And I had written somewhere in here that I think we could basically just limit the votes that we count to people who have like 100 respect or something like that. Like eventually it would be good to have something like signals or respect trees, something like that, where people who participate more and are delegates and stuff have more say in which topics get selected. But for now, I figured technically the easiest solution is just right now, everybody who's here, we know well and we all trust and so forth. So we could just do one person, one vote, and everybody who's here gets to vote in there. And then if somebody new came that we didn't know, then I could say, oh, well, only people who have at least 100 respect, who have been to a few meetings or whatever, can participate. But for now, just everybody can vote who has a link, and I'll just ask that you don't invite random people to vote on it.
Yeah, but then it would make sense to only share that link in the Zoom chat. I think because the Eden Fractal Telegram channel, for example, is public, and theoretically anyone could join and start voting. Good
point. So yeah, I just shared it in the Zoom chat there. Thanks for that. I was going to share it in the Telegram chat, but that totally makes sense. So I just shared it there, and everybody can. It should be live, and you should be able to access it now. I'll also ask too if you just write your name. Actually, maybe I'll edit the poll too. I realized one of the things I realized last week is that I can add a name field, but it might be helpful just to know who's voting for what. Not totally necessary. In the past, I asked that you scroll down to the bottom and you change voting as anonymous, and you just hit edit and then write your name there. You don't have to write your email or anything like that. But then another way you can do it is I can just add another poll option here for names so we can see who voted for what, although that's not super necessary now for this purpose.
Oh, Dan, you shared the Slido. Did you share the ability to edit new topics?
No. So the way that works right now is I can give you access to edit the topics here on the Notion page, but I can only, well, there's two different things. So for one thing, we might be able to do this in the future by using something like Typeform or Google Documents and having that send to Notion. So I'll pull up another link here too. I was looking into this over the past week. if anybody's familiar with Typeform or Google Documents, it's basically like a way to build a form, and then you can automatically add that to a Notion database such as this. So we could have a type form where it's like, hey, welcome to the Eden Fractal topics. Please submit your topic here. This is just like an integration thing, but it will show up where we can make questions. And then whenever people answer those questions, it goes directly into there. You could see a little bit of an example here about how I could list like a few things like, what is your topic? Please explain your topic and so forth. And then it automatically generate into this topic database. But my plan for now was just anybody who wants access to this page. There's also like an Eden Fractal kind of a home page. And there's also another little thing here that maybe I should go over that I called the EF Community Member Center. That basically I was just planning to give access in Notion as a guest to this page. So you'd be able to actually go on there and edit it. But in the future, this can be also a lighter way to do it, where people don't need to be guests on Notion, but they can just submit a form and it would automatically go into the topic database.
Okay, I heard a lot of words that I would understand in different contexts, but I didn't get an answer to my question. If I want to add let's say I wanted to add a document to this list, that's one question. How would I go about doing it? The other question is, if Lisa asks me to go and edit a document that she added, how would I go about doing that?
Thank you for the questions.
The third one is, if I wanted to add a bunch of documents, but I didn't want to clutter things up, how can we have a Noam's folder or a Lisa's folder so there's only one entry, but I can add several documents that we might move or vote on later?
Great questions. Thank you very much for asking. So regarding the first question, currently the way to do this is if you send me an email that you use for Notion, then I'll invite you as a guest, and then you can edit this however you want. You can go and add a topic there. In the future, perhaps before next week, I can also set this type form so that we could also make it so anybody can go to a website. It'd be like typeform.com/Notion topic or something like that, and then they could fill out a form that would automatically go into there. But currently, if you want to add a topic here, either I can add it for you, if you want me to just write it in real quick, or I can just, if you give me your email, then I can give you access to type here and add a topic here. Does that answer your first question?
It goes by email. It goes by email?
Yeah, you use an email to sign up for Notion. So you need to have a Notion account with an email for it, and then you would send me the email that you use for Notion, and I can add you as a guest to this page.
Okay.
And
it has to be an email. It can't be a Google account.
It can be a Gmail, an email from Google. But in order to sign up with Notion, if you go to notion.so, the way to do that is go to notion.so, and then when you hit log in or get Notion for free, then you hit log in, and it's going to ask you for an email address. So you can log in with Google or Apple or Yahoo or whatever else you have, and then you would just send me the email address that you use to sign up to Notion. And then I would go into my settings, and I'd hit share and invite Gnome.
Yeah, that's fine. The reason I asked is because when you use a Google or an Apple account, you don't have to invent a password and then store it. You just click sign in with Google, and that's fine. Or sign in with Apple, sign in with Facebook.
That works as long as you have an email.
Make sure I didn't have to invent a new password and maintain a separate account.
Yep, you don't need to do that. No, would you mind reiterating the second question? I remember your third question, but I don't remember what the second question was.
The second question was, what if somebody asked me to edit their document?
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. And then the third question was whether you could kind of collapse and organize it all into one spot. So right. Yeah, that's all possible. Right now I'm not logged into Notion here. It'd probably be easier if I logged in, so maybe I'll do that in a moment. But both of those things you can do. So for example, for one thing, once you have access to this, then you'll be able to just add a topic, and you could add a topic on Lisa's behalf. So you could say, if Lisa wanted to talk about Alien Worlds, Planet Ike, whatever she wants to talk about, you could go to the bottom here, there'd be a little plus sign, and then you could just hit plus sign, Lisa's topic for Planet Ike, and then you could just write it there. The other thing you can do too, to answer your third question, is you can create pages within pages. So yeah, I really should log in. That would make it more useful to be able to show everybody how to do it and give a little tutorial about how it works. And you could do that on any topic. So you could just create your own topic and call it Gnome's topics and then organize them all there. But the other thing that I thought about that is helpful to engineer this is what I'm currently calling the Eden Fractal Community Center. I don't know if that's the best name for it. I just kind of wrote that really quickly. But the idea is that each person can have their own page on the Eden Fractal Notion page. So this, right now there's a database for the Eden Fractal Tropics or topics, and that's inside of the Eden Fractal homepage. And the Eden Fractal homepage doesn't have much more right now. There's a section that we could add projects and tests to, and we have all the topics here. And then there's also a link to the Eden Fractal site database where actually edenfractal.com is hosted. And then there's a page that I called the Eden Fractal Member Center, which I just kind of put together really quickly. And I tested this out with my account as well as Dogman account, and basically each person can have like their own little profile we could potentially build where you like include your website or your Twitter or anything if you wanted to. You don't have to, but then the reason why I created this was because Notion has a syncing feature, and when we do invite people to the Notion database, if everybody's a guest and everybody can edit anything they want, and we don't want to have it where people are accidentally deleting each other's topics, something like that. But you can make it so people can't delete each other's topics. So guests will just be able to post their own topics. People can read it, but not delete it by using synced posts. And so you could potentially have your own section on this Eden Fractal website where Gnome, you could write any thoughts that you want related to Eden Fractal. You could have a database. You could create pages here. I created one. I just called it EF Article 1 just as a draft, but I can make as many as I want there. You could add pictures and text or links or whatever. It's like a very fully featured software. And then you could sync it over to here as well. That might be a little bit more detailed than you were asking for. I wanted to mention that as well and explain it more if it didn't make sense. But yeah, basically to answer your two questions, you can easily create a new topic for Lisa or for anybody else on their behalf by adding a new topic here. And then you could also organize all of your thoughts within one of these topics or within your own personal page in the Eden Fractal Community Center page, where you could write your own pages and write your own notes and so forth. And there's also other great stuff you could do, like syncing with that functionality as well. Does that make sense, Noam?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually logging into to Notions right now, so I can try it out.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you very much. I'm also just going to vote for some of the topics that I'd like to discuss first, and then I'll also be able to see once I vote what everybody else voted for as well. And I encourage anybody now, if you have any other questions or comments, then feel free to share now. And then also encourage if there are any topics you want to discuss that I have on this list already, you can rank them. You can rank as many as you want here. And also if you'd like to be invited as a guest here, you could just share your email with me that you use with Notion, and then I'll invite you as a guest and you'll have access to it.
I have another question.
Okay.
If I send you my email, then you have my email. Does that mean that everybody in Eden Fractal now has my email?
Yes, so that is something to consider. Thank you for mentioning. I should have mentioned that previously. But the way it works is that, and once I log in, I'll log in right now just so you can see it, because I really should have done it in the first place so you can see it better. But basically in the top right corner, anybody who has access to the Eden Fractal website or this Notion page would see your email in the top right corner.
I can't pick a username or an avatar or something like that and hide my my Gmail?
You can use an avatar and pick whatever picture you want, but if you want to hide your Gmail, then I would probably use a different email address that isn't including personal, like sensitive information or something. Alternatively, I can also have this type form too, and then you don't have to expose your email to anybody there. But as far as if you did this, then if you did, if I invited you as a guest, then other people who are also a guest would also be able to see your email.
I see. Okay.
By the way, I just Googled quickly if there's an option to hide email, and there seems to be in account settings in Notion to hide my email. Choose that option if a person wants to hide their email from Notion.
Okay,
so there may be an option to hide the email.
Cool. Thank you, Rosmari. I was not familiar with that.
Or is this a Notion site or a Lido site that you showed us last time?
So right now, what screen sharing is Slido. This is the Slido poll that I shared in the Zoom chat, and then this over here is a Notion site. So basically, what I did was I wrote all the topics in a Notion site in a Notion database, and then also when you click open, and you can see some more details of the topics. And then I just manually went into Slido, and then I added each of the topics I added there as topics. And then if anybody wants to add any more topics here, once you get guest access to this page or however else, then I would manually just add whatever topics are there to here.
Do you incur in double work by copying from Eden Creators to Notion?
What do you mean by incurring extra work by importing from Eden Creators to Notion? I'm not sure what you mean there.
Because in Notion, for each topic, you have a description, which looks a lot like the thing that you had in Eden Creators.
So the Eden Creators site and the Eden Fractal site both use Notion as their backend. So I just copied and pasted and synced it over, so that I mean, it took a little bit of extra work just to copy and paste it, but basically it's all sourced from the same place. So for example, I was showing here before, and I think you know this, Jorge, because I think I shared it. You asked about the garden at some point, but I also use Notion along with an app called Super for all of the Eden Fractal website and the Eden Creators website. So for example, this database is actually linked in the page I was planning to share, where so you could see all of the show notes and stuff.
I didn't know that the back end of Eden Creators was Notion.
Yep.
Pretty interesting.
Yep, it's all a Notion site. All the pages I have in the garden are all in Notion, and so whenever I write notes, I write them in Notion, and then it looks like a database like this. So there's a page, for example, for each episode that we do. Like for example, this is where we host the show notes in 54. We also, I was working with Rosmari on some like the stuff up there in the comments, and then you could see like this is where we host all the show notes and stuff like that for each episode. And so eventually we can, I feel like this can be a first step to collaborating much more in Notion, and I've been thinking how we can do amazing collaborations in Notion for building collaborative websites and all sorts of stuff. And for now, it seems like this is a good way to get it started, where we can discuss topics and organize our meetings better in this way. Maybe I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment.
Oh, me again.
Okay.
It turns out that there's no option to hide the email. There is that option in case you choose to continue with Apple as a choice to log in to register. There's that option only for if you choose continue with Apple. There's an option to hide my email.
But with Google there isn't.
No, but I just found in the once you register, you can change your email after. There's a button to change email, so you can do that afterwards in case you log in with re-register with one email, but you want to change that to another email afterwards. That's in the, I think, settings. So Dan and myself can do that, for example. I'm going to.
Could
Okay.
you post the Slido link in Telegram?
I just put it in the Zoom chat. Tadas had made a good point that people who aren't here, like there might be other people who might vote who aren't here. So I think it makes more sense, like Tadas mentioned, just to share it in the Zoom chat.
No, I just have the Zoom chat in a different computer than. But okay, I can manage.
Okay, yeah. If you'd like, I can also share it with you in Telegram or whatever as well. But it is in the Zoom chat. If you just scroll up the second message that's most recently, it's there. And I can also share them now logged in, which will be pretty helpful, I think, for demonstrating these things in the future. And then I can share the results of the Slido pool. So perhaps I will share my screen again momentarily. Does anybody have any other questions or comments about the system, or any other feedback or thoughts you'd like to share?
I think it's a good direction that you're that you're trying to build on easy to use tools that are not expensive and that people can, just kind of different groups can jump on and recreate. So that's a positive thing. And then leave the tough stuff that we can't do to guys like Tadas and Vlad, right? Those things. But if we can build on things that are easily reproducible, in the meantime, I think that's great. So we're in such a fluid space, right? Things are changing so quickly, and we're all learning what to do. It's good to have very agile tools to figure out our processes. So can you imagine that we would have to get something developed first to figure out whether we liked it? So this creates a faster feedback loop. And then once, if something is working, and yet there's a few manual steps in there, but it's basically working for us as a process, then that becomes a good candidate for something to be developed. So I think that's a positive thing that you're doing.
I agree with Perry. +1.
+1, okay.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you very much for the feedback, Perry and Rosmari, and great thoughts. And I agree too. I also appreciate, Perry, I know in one of the recent Eden on EOS meetings, you were advocating for using Notion more. Maybe that was, I don't know, bylaws or one of the ones I was listening to recently. So it was really cool hearing that apparently you've been looking into the tool and liking it. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff we can do with Notion, and great points about making it simple for everybody to use while we're also building many other exciting tools as well.
I use Google Workspaces. I actually install that for clients, and I set up what basically amounts to a customer service center that you could expand to. It's only used for small hotels in Costa Rica, but the exact same setup could be expanded to. I mean, it's Google, so you could do thousands. I have common. It's like a common email where one email comes in and multiple people can respond either under the same or not the same general email or their own individual email under that domain or whatever email they want. Right? And so you can create these fluid, super scalable customer service centers that are also can be connected to websites and so on. So I use those tools. I use the Google tools. So Notion is new for me, but I do like it because it has everything kind of in a nice tight package in the same place. And I'll say that it's probably easier to figure out the totality of tools than try to piece everything together in Google. Google's probably more scalable and more extensive functionality, but Notion kind of has everything in one spot, and that's, I could see why it's becoming popular among small software groups, right? So Notion is a popular within let's say a 5 or 10 group software group that's trying to get something done. Makes complete sense, put it all together. So
great. Well, yeah, I agree and appreciate all your experience with all of these technology building and tools, and also all your suggestions and feedback there. And that all makes sense. And yeah, I think that I can start sharing the screen now. And we have been talking about all this stuff for about a half hour, so we can put the system to a test. Everybody's ready and see who voted for what, and start guiding the topics. If that sounds good with everybody. Thank you once again, Perry, and I suppose that I'll share my screen now. So I also didn't fully share everything I wanted in the presentation, so maybe I'll just give another quick 1-minute presentation for a couple of things I forgot to share before, and then I'll pass it over and show the topics. So just one thing I wanted to say too, this was a follow-up in case any of you wasn't here during the 59th meeting where we discussed the future of Cagendas, we discussed basically how to share the greatest story of all time, which the stuff we're doing with Cagendas, I think that it's like super helpful for organizing our topics and what we discuss. And it's also like we're also choosing storylines for all these videos. So as I mentioned, and I think Rosmari mentioned several times, like we're making like really exciting visuals and text talking about how we're stepping into the arena to play Cagendas a few weeks ago, social coordination game that helps community sync up for creative collaboration. So I think what we're doing, I just wanted to provide a bit of context that this is what we discussed. This plan is kind of the next step from this plan that we discussed 3 weeks ago. And then also this has the potential to be really profoundly helpful for many communities. I summarized a couple of takeaways here. So if you want to read more about it, you can see at edencreators.com/tropics. And there's a couple different, there's a bit of an issue with Notion things. So right now these links aren't working, but most of the stuff I went over. So you can read it there, but we can discuss it more in detail. But just want to provide a little bit more detail for where we're coming from here and then the potential for this. And the topics that got the most votes so far, there was 5 people who voted. Thank you for voting. And the topic that has the most votes right now is growing respect trees. And then the second topic is sync in the telesessions. The third topic is Gitcoin public goods and the future of QF or quadratic funding. Third topic is Eden Fractal Tropics, which is basically what we're discussing now. So that's basically been discussed unless we want to discuss some more. And the fifth topic is Zoom news and alternative video solutions, garden talk, updated anniversary awards, inviting Gnome to hot stuff, and certifications and social games, which
when
are.
did this voting happen?
This happened in the past 20 minutes or so since I shared it. If you want to change it too, then feel free to, if you haven't yet voted.
It was just, I had a power outage, so I must have missed it.
Okay. So yeah, so feel free to keep voting, because one of the ways that I'm figuring this system can work is that we could real-time change your topics. So for example, if we start talking about respect trees, but then like in 10 minutes, somebody's like, oh, actually, I want to talk more about the Zoom or whatever, then we can change the topics as we go. So, and I can keep checking back on this. You can let us know if you change your topic, or whenever you submit your topic, Gnome, then you can help us guide the discussion if you want to talk about something different. So I'm thinking this can be like a real-time tool that we use to change topics on a minute-to-minute basis, even if we wanted to change topics quickly. And so if you haven't yet submitted, then feel free to do so. Perry, I see you raise your hand there.
I want to suggest exactly that. I'd like to advocate for a change in the topics if you're ready for that.
Sure. I mean, the way you could advocate this would be voting here, and then if you want to add a topic, then we can add it, and I can invite you as a guest, or I can add it for you. But otherwise, I think this could be a system where we just each vote on it. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Perry.
No, I want to encourage people to vote for inviting Noam. I want to advocate for number 8. That's currently number 8.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for your advocacy, Perry. And we actually discussed that towards the end of this meeting, Eden Fractal 59. And this is linked, I believe, with the show notes where we have a timestamp. Actually, we haven't yet added the timestamps. We're working on getting caught up with some of these show notes, but there's a timestamp here where we talked about this in more detail. And I'm also working on a note there. So encourage everybody, if you want to hear more about the topic, inviting Gnome to discuss hot stuff. It's a fascinating thing he's building, and Gnome has joined many Eden Fractal meetings in the past, and he's doing great work with EOS Network Foundation. So currently that's number 8 on the list. So it looks like if we stay at the current time, then we might not get time to discuss it. But if anyone wants to discuss that now, prioritize it, then you can change your vote. You can hit edit response, and then you can change it. So for example, I had that number 8, but Perry just inspired me to maybe move it up to number 6, just for example, or I can move it up to number 1 if I wanted to. I can also move this one down because we kind of discussed this already. And then I can just hit resubmit, and that's a way that you can redo your votes, and now you can see it changes in real time. So now growing respect is still number 1 though, so we'll probably pass on to Tadas in a moment. I also want to introduce it briefly. I see Tadas has his hands up, so I'll pass it to Tadas and Jorge, but first I also, before we go into the topic, I wanted to just mention one more thing briefly. So Tadas, what would you like to share?
I just wanted to say that, like, we are not going to get Gnome here today. So does it make sense to vote on a topic which we will only be able to discuss maybe in the future weeks, unless it's a topic whether we should invite Gnome or not?
That's what I assumed. Is that we would discuss inviting him.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, yeah, currently I have a project to reach out to him. I just haven't had the opportunity to finish it yet, but that's on my list to do. I think it's a good idea, and we came to and we agreed upon that in the 59th meeting. And also, Rosmari just shared that the 59th meeting does have timestamps, but it just needs refreshing sometimes. So yeah, now it's here, and we can see if we search for Gnome on here, then we can see at 1:56:31 in Eden Fractal 59th meeting. Perry asked me if I contacted Gnome of IBC, or of UX Network and all the stuff he's doing, and then we discussed it for probably about 20 minutes. So I encourage anybody, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, you can listen to this conversation for about 20 minutes, and then, as Tadas was saying before, this can be, or Tadas asked and I responded, this could be a way that we vote on topics throughout the week too. So perhaps for next week, if we don't get a chance to talk more in detail about Gnome and inviting him, then we could prioritize it for next week by voting on it throughout the week. And also, if anybody wants to just reach out on their own, of course they can. This doesn't have to just be what we all do. Everybody can take their own action if they want to reach out to Gnome privately, and I encourage people to do so. And then Jorge, you asked, is the voting weighted somehow?
On Telegram as well, or is it only in the Zoom chat?
What was that? No? Oh, no, the link to the Slido poll is just in the Zoom chat right now. We figure we just keep it here for now so that it just the people who are at the meeting can access it, rather than just anybody who goes to the Telegram chat.
Why is that? I mean, if we're going to do it all week, then we need it in the Telegram chat.
Yeah, so that's probably a good idea for that, but just for right now, because this is just a meeting kind of, I guess we were testing out for the first time with just the people here, and we didn't have it prior to this day. So how about we post in the Telegram chat for next week, and then we just do it in the Zoom chat for this week? Or if you want to post in the Telegram chat, I don't
when
care.
you're talking about the Zoom chat, you were talking about the ability to edit things. And that would require respect. It's not enough to just be in the Telegram. But for the Slido poll, I mean, what's the worst they can do? They can change the priority for who's...
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big thing to be able to set the agenda and discuss what gets discussed. So my plan for now was just to have it where I can invite anybody who has at least 100 respect to the Eden Fractal Notion page, and we can count anybody who has at least 100 respect in the Slido. And one person, one vote. To ask your question, is the voting weighted somehow? I think eventually it'd be great to do this with like a signals kind of algorithm, or with respect trees, or just hold on a second, Gnome, or with some sort of weighting where delegates and people who have a lot of respect have more voting weight there. And we tested that out with the signal spreadsheet that we did for the previous games, and we got that mostly automated, but it's still a little bit more complex. So for now, I figured just one person, one vote with Slido works well. And if we just keep it with the people who were here in the call, then we can use that pretty well. And then also to answer your second question, Jorge, about what is QF?
Patrick, Lisa, you're purposely excluding Patrick, Lisa, and Vlad?
No, I'm not purposely excluding them. I'm just figuring that we can test it with the people on the call right now. So of course they're welcome to join.
We want to include Patrick, Lisa, and Vlad at some point.
Yep, I agree. I think your suggestion there, Noah, putting in the Telegram group for next week, I think that's a good idea. And if you wanted to put in the Telegram group, I wouldn't mind. It was just, I thought Tadas made a good point that we just keep it in the Zoom chat for now.
Telegram group as soon as this chat meeting is over.
Sounds like a good plan.
So we can vote throughout the week.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I wanted to also answer, I see Tadas has a hands up, but also Jorge, I started to answer. QF is quadratic funding. So I would like to just briefly mention the topic before we get to respect trees, just because I could just give like a very high level overview in like 30 seconds. I just want to give an update. So I'll pass it over to Tadas and I'll provide a little intro to the QF as well. If Jorge, you have any other questions or anybody else has any questions of the process, then feel free to share or raise your hand. But first I'll pass it to Tadas. Okay, Jorge?
Yeah, just about the Tropics thing. Is Tropics just another name for topics?
Yeah, pretty much. The way I identified it or called it in this article is it's a new Cagenda minigame. So Cagendas is the game that we play to create agendas and choose discussion topics and make decisions together. And I was going to call it Eden Fractal Topics, but I kind of like the idea of fractals and tropics and stuff. So I just added an R to just make it more fun. If it's simpler, you could just call it topics instead. But I just thought we could have a little fun with it. But basically, it's a way of discussing topics. And I figured I'd give a name to this game or system of having it here in Notion and give it a little brand that's fun and fractal. So Tropics is just like the Cagendas mini game where we organize topics like this, and that can change. I thought of that yesterday, so I just figured to make it more fun that way. I hope that you like that, Jorge. If you have any comments, then feel free to share. If not, I can pass it on to Tadas.
Yes, so I see a problem with sharing this kind of Slido poll in a Telegram chat and then voting throughout the week. So the way Slido works, there is no authentication. It's basically the security is based on that you share the link with people in the meeting. That's the model of Slido, basically. That simplifies the process because the user doesn't have to log in, but it's not really secure because I could go into follow that Slido link and say that my name is Vlad and then vote as Vlad.
Right. Good point. And yeah, something we'll have to consider. Did you want anything else there, Tadas, or should I respond now?
Yes, that's it basically.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's an excellent point and something to consider. That's one of the reasons why I just said I'd accept people who had at least 100 respect points to vote here, and that's something to consider. Ideally, Slido will have something built in where you can build in Web3 or something like that, but currently it doesn't. There are a few options that we could use to improve this in the future. So the thing that we did during the Eden Fractal anniversary and public goods pitch sessions was, right now I'm showing the admin like thing that you can use when you're an admin of Slido, and it provides a lot of details. One of the things it lets you do is it exports results, and it lets you export it to, for example, Google. So you could see, I think, poll results for Slido or poll result per user allows you to see who voted for what in a pretty accessible format. And in the future, we could potentially use the Signal spreadsheet that I had worked on with Gnome and also Rosmari. And this is where we calculated everybody's amount of respect that they'd earned in the past 6 weeks, and also if they're a delegate, and we could calculate weekly signal power and so forth. As Tadas said, somebody else could enter their name. So, Tadas could say he's Vlad or something like that. And so we'd have to have some way to confirm. I think in general, like, the community is pretty small, so I don't think, and there's not much at stake, so I don't think many people would like to try to attack it. So we could try it and see if we need to add some more defenses there over time, and we could just ask that people just be honest, and then also just represent and sign in themselves. And then if we saw that there were 2 Vlads, then we could realize that there's an issue. We can ask Vlad if he answered that. And then also there is a system, if I do upgrade, if I pay like $800 to Slido, then they can have it where you have like only certain people with certain accounts can participate. So if we do raise funding that would make it economically making sense to do that, then we could go and like upgrade, and then that would be, so we could set a pre-amount of accounts who would be able to participate. For now, we can also just see people who entered their name there. We have names from Tadas, Rosmari, Eric, and apparently I've had to do it. So you can see topics we suggested there. So Slido gives this information to see who voted for it. But for the future, I don't know if we should continue discussing this now. Noam made a good point that we should make it open to Vlad and Patrick and Lisa and everybody else who's not currently here. But it's also made a good point too that we don't want just random people voting in it. So that's something we could continue discussing now, or we could follow up in the chat afterwards, or after we get to respect trees, because I think respect trees was still the first topic as well. Tadas or Noam or Jorge, any more thoughts about this?
I'm getting on a plane in a few hours, so I won't be available for about a day or two. But I think Tadas made a very good point, and I think it should be possible to find something that addresses both my concern and his. We just need to figure out what it is. I mean, we're not pulling in the same direction, but we're not in opposite directions either. So there has to be a solution for both. And once we figure out what it is, we should implement it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Noam. And yeah, I think there certainly are solutions. I mean, I know that if we just did that Slido thing with only allowing certain emails, and then that would be a pretty sufficient solution for now, if it's worth the funding. And then there's probably other things we can do in a more economical way as well. I see Rosmari has her hands up, so I'll pass it over to Rosmari now.
Maybe an idea would be to create a separate group with just users from Hidden Fractal with 100 points only, so that we can share the link with them, so that we know that these are already sort of vetted through, at least through the system that we're using with the respect, and we can share the links with them. And also a question, do you think we'll be using the same link for each meeting, or maybe a different link for each meeting?
The same Slido link, you mean, or what?
Yes.
Or Notion link? So yeah, Slido. I think we'd probably use a different link for each meeting, but maybe the same. I'm not really sure. That's a good question, and that's something we can consider to find out what is best. I have not thought about it yet. And I saw also Tadas give a thumbs up. I also agree too. I think Rosmari, that would be a good. I think that's a good solution. Basically, creating a private Telegram group, or we could do that in Notion as well. You could have private groups in Notion, and then from there we could just share the Slido link only with people who are in that group, and I think that would work out quite well for the short term.
Great.
I like the idea of an ongoing poll. I think that's that's possible.
I think the ongoing poll is a good idea, but I would like to see historical snapshots of it, especially the minute before and the minute after the Zoom chats.
Yep.
Because that shows, I want to be able to see the history of that ongoing poll. Because it reflects what was important to us over the year.
Yep, that's a great point, Gnome. Yeah, and so my original thought with this, I've been thinking of this for a while, is we could have an ongoing vote, and then people could just update their vote throughout the weeks, and we could also have it weighted according to how much respect they have or their signal power and however we want to do it. And then that could also be used not just to pick topics, but also for other things, like, for example, a mission or some other priorities like that, not just discussion topics. It's kind of like respect trees, and I think it might kind of, if we can figure out a way to make respect trees work with Notion, then they might work together in some quite synergistic and nice natural way. But yeah, I figure basically we could have it where people could vote throughout the week, and then people could update their vote. And so, for example, with a mission, people could update it from week to week if I think this is the mission or that's the mission, or this is the topic they want to discuss most, and so forth. And I agree, having snapshots, for one thing, you could just take screenshots and post them in the Telegram chat so people know, and then also eventually, or perhaps in the soon future, we could also maybe upload those to IPFS, something like that as well, to have like a more persistent file that is remembering the group's priorities from week to week and so forth.
And in the history, you might want to do the whole database or spreadsheet, not just the thing that Slido shows you, because there's 4 different ways you might want to look at Slido. One person, one vote, bias. There are so many ways. You want to keep the raw stuff so you can regenerate it.
Yep. And the topics could change too from week to week too. And exactly. So we could have a snapshot weekly of the Notion database that we are currently writing all the topics or whatever else we're writing in there. And that could be snapshot on IPFS or a screenshot or whatever. And then also Notion has a feature for like history, which works pretty well from what I can tell. You can tell like a version control history, so that works kind of well out of the box. And then also we could perhaps integrate it because you can export HTML files with Notion too. And I know Tadas is working with a solution with Firmament, which I thought about in relation to this a lot too. And there's also other tools that work with Notion, like Obsidian and so forth, that use text files and HTML files and so forth. So you could have a weekly export of like the HTML file or the text file from Notion as well, so that you can keep the kind of like the tree of all the topics and priorities and stuff for the topic on a week-to-week basis, and have it remembered throughout history. I suppose now might be a good time. We haven't actually got to topics yet. We're almost at the top of the hour. So if any of you guys else have any comments about this, we could wrap it up soon too. But I figure first we can at least maybe discuss respect trees and everything a little bit. But if any of you guys has any more comments about logistically how that works, feel free. We kind of de facto just kept talking about the tropics and the topics and organizing it, which makes sense because lots of new ideas. Hopefully everybody is liking it. I'll share my screen briefly before opening it up to the growing respect trees. So I've refreshed this a few times. I think it updates automatically even if I don't refresh it, but still the top topic is growing respect trees and then sync in the Telos sessions and then Gitcoin public goods in the future of QF. I'll pass it over to, I don't know who voted for respect trees. I voted for it pretty high up, and I know Jorge's been a big advocate for it lately. And Tadas, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Tadas said he has to go soon too. Just one topic that I wanted to bring up really briefly that is time pertinent that I have here is Gitcoin public goods in the future QF. So perhaps before passing over, just as moderator, I'll just take a moment to just add this because I just think it's helpful, relevant for people. Pomelo, there was a Twitter Spaces yesterday where Evla Rose, the CEO of the ENF, announced that the ENF is not planning to continue funding Pomelo after season 7, and they're also not planning to continue funding the grant framework program, which are the two major funding sources for public goods on the EOS network. It will still continue for one season. So I just wanted to put that out there because we've had a lot of people with Pomelo grants out there. I've been doing research into Gitcoin and the quadratic funding, which is the system that Pomelo uses, system on Ethereum. And Gitcoin is now having its 18th round, basically, and they have $2 million of funding available. That is the deadline to apply for that is the 15th. So I'm planning to apply for this. I applied for it last season too. I just applied for like one of the little rounds. There's a bunch of different rounds here, and I don't think I actually copied this sheet here, so I'll share the link to this in the Zoom chat in case anyone wants to go and click on it and participate in there. I think it might be cool if several people who have grants or building cool public goods want to also go to like some of the Ethereum spaces. I'm planning to go to like the Twitter space and stuff to help promote what we're doing here at Eden Fractal and Eden Creators and stuff like that. And there is funding available with several different programs for open source tool development or media creation or different things. It's quite developed, it's quite good. So just want to put that out there because Pomelo, it seems like that might not be a recurring source of funding for much longer, and there's more funding at Gitcoin, and the deadline to submit an application is, I believe, on the 15th, which is 1 week from now. So if any of you guys have any quick comments with that, feel free to jump in. But I just wanted to let everybody in the community know because there's an opportunity for funding, which is helpful. And then for growing respect trees, I put out a post along with Rosmari, and I wrote a little like summary in the show notes for Eden Fractal Meeting 60, where I wrote about how communities can coordinate to maximize mutual benefit, and how in our 60th episode we drew inspiration from fractals, nature, and explored respect trees, an elegant primitive for collaborative thought, prioritization, and action. There is now timestamps for this in edenfractal.com/60. And I also wrote a little bit here where you can see the article that Tadas wrote about respect trees, as well as a timestamp where Tadas gave a presentation about respect trees. And then there's more timestamps in that edenfractal.com/60 where you can learn more about it. All the discussions that we had are all timestamped here. So if you want to share with friends or anything like that, then all these places. I saw Tadas also added more details to the bottom here after our discussion about why tree, not a graph, and so forth. And he also had a very interesting discussion in the Planet Ike chat with Michael Yates, the creator of Alien Worlds, that I saved but I didn't save here too. And so I was curious what are the next steps and so forth. But being that's a top topic, I think Tadas said he had to go soon. So I don't know if Tadas, you want to add any updates on your thinking from here, or Jorge or anybody else who voted for this. But with that, I will stop my screen share and open it up for whoever wants to share some thoughts about respect trees.
I don't have any updates besides what I've written down in the updated document. Not much, but yeah, I'm planning to come back and have another iteration on this soon once I get one thing done with Firmament. Yeah.
Well, I can add that I've been editing the diffs on respect trees, and it's now almost edited and will be soon uploaded. This is the kind of original conversation that where Tadas and Dan brainstormed on the respect trees, and it provides a really nice visual, and it shares the moment when Tadas was sharing, maybe for the first time, and that was before the sharing more wildly with the community members from Eden Fractal. And that video for where that was shared is going to be posted very soon, probably today or tomorrow. That is the Eden Fractal 61.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for working on editing and producing that resume. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm really excited to share that. At the end of the call that I had with Tadas about that, I had asked Tadas if we should share it as a recording, and we agreed it was a good idea. And we figured that the DEFs, which stands for Discussing Eden Fractal Stuff, that's a good show kind of to release it on. It has a little branding that I built when we did the first episode of Vlad a few months ago. So I figured that'll be a nice place where people can learn more about respect trees, and look forward to sharing it with everybody and helping to grow respect trees, which I think are super exciting. I can also mention too, I think I mentioned it before, but Jorge has been sharing it a lot of Eden on EOS groups as well, advocating for a lot. So thank you, Jorge, for advocating for that. I think that's super helpful. And then all the discussion we've been having here too, I think that we could perhaps work in respect trees with tools like Notion or with tools like Obsidian and stuff like that, because they're all kind of built with database structures already where there can be hierarchical relationships. So that might be an opportunity for like bringing some of these discussions together, where we could have, you know, respect trees helping to decide the topics too for each meeting for in the Tropics game, for example. I'm not totally sure how that work out, but just some ideas here that maybe people might want to think about. Oh, and then one other thing too is Rosmari just mentioned that the Eden Fractal 61 and Def's Respect Trees videos can be added to the article as a presentation of visual resources. So yeah, that's correct. I've also been curating the article. I don't know if it's live yet. Yeah, it's not live yet, but I've been curating it in the Garden database. I have a Notion for Eden Creators. It's going to be edencreators.com/respect trees, I think. And then that just has it's going to have a curated section where it shows the Eden Fractal meeting and the notes about that, and the Def's meeting video, and then other resources where you can learn more about respect trees as well. So I'm aiming to share that in the coming days, if possible. If anybody else has any other thoughts about respect trees, then we'd be very happy to hear about it. If not, we could also go on to the next topic in the Tropics, which I kind of like how that sounds. Or we can also wrap it up, because I know there's not, I know Tadas had to go pretty soon, and we have been here for 2.5 hours already, so we can wrap it up whenever. I see Jorge's unmuted though, so pass it on to Jorge.
Yeah, I know I have something to say. I just don't have the exact words right now. It's related to everything I'm seeing, both respect trees and also these new tools we are presenting and what I'm intending to do at the Eden community. So can I run for just a couple of minutes?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, since long ago I've been thinking about these decentralized governance systems, and I even tried to simulate them. Even I created a Pomelo grant to simulate the fractal democracy process. And now I've been attending these meetings in the Eden ecosystem. They divided themselves into groups, the tech group and the incubator group and the marketing group. And within all these groups, there is always like a lack of direction, a lack of purpose. And that lack of purpose here in the Eden Fractal hasn't been as strong, basically because people do whatever they want and they show their contributions. But still, for example, today that I see these tools presented by Dan, I don't see when did we arrive to consensus as to use those exact tools or to use other tools. And I don't know if I should regard that as part of Dan's personal work, or is it part of the community? Like, for example, I see Fractalgram and the web app as part of the whole protocol of the community, but it's not. That's not the case with the slido, for example, and the Notion thing that you just showed us. And this is part of a bigger problem, which is how to implement, well, design, implement, maintain, and repair a DAO. I know respect trees are part of that, but it's just a small part. So I'll share my screen for just 1 minute. I've been in touch with this course. It's called System Engineering, Fundamentals of System Engineering from MIT. It's originally designed for spacecraft and aerospace engineering, but just as a spacecraft, what we are doing here is a complex system of logistics. We have people, we have facilities, or so hopefully we'll have facilities someday. So we need to learn to deal with this complexity. I presented in my breakout room, in which you begin by defining stakeholders. What are the stakeholders of, for example, any DAO, and what are the requirements? What are the requirements of the DAO itself? What are the requirements for what?
I don't hear Jorge, right?
Yeah, Jorge, you're having some internet issues, I think.
The concept of the trade space exploration. So, do you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah,
hear me now?
but yeah, I hear you fine now, but it was breaking up a little bit while you were speaking. Can you hear us? Jorge?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I like to bring this, explore the whole concept of systems engineering and bring it to DAO creation, because I think that competition is beginning to enter a new stage. We used to have competitions by individuals, then we had competitions by societies, and then by nations, and now we'll have competitions by corporations, and now we are entering the stage of competitions between DAOs and DAOs against artificial intelligence. And so the most dominant DAOs will be those that have their processes more optimized and who are more energy efficient. I care about these initiatives. So yeah, as I said 2 minutes ago, I'm ranting. I just wanted to know that I feel like the whole thing pretty fuzzy still. Thank you.
I've got feedback for you, Jorge. I think that's a great observation, and I appreciate that being brought up. I want to add to that we're in, just to give us a kind of a perspective, we are unique. We are slightly different than the topic of the article that you brought up, which is excellent, and I hope you drop a link, and we can just take a look at it. But we're in a unique spot because what we're doing is we're engaging in self-referential development. We're developing ourselves. We're writing ourselves, right? So that adds even an additional complexity to it. So I've been involved in various software projects throughout my career, and it's one thing to be part of a team who is making a particular thing, right? That someone else is that you're going to invite people to run, and you're going to be maybe operating it. Your group is going to operate that thing, and other people are going to join in, and so on and so forth. And that's the typical model that we all know. But it's a totally different thing to be creating the software and the processes as well that you're actually operating on. Now, every corporation has some of it. They have to come up with their own operating procedures, but we're going much deeper than that. We're designing everything that we do is we're trying to make it be driven by software. So we have this extra problem, and not just software. That's just part of it. It's decentralized. So that's actually the bigger aspect to it. So that study, I don't know if that study was targeted towards decentralization, but that's a whole nother element to this. We don't have the benefit of a single CEO acting like a dictator and saying, right or wrong, saying we're going to do it this way, right, or we're going to do it that way. We don't have that kind of control or that agility. We've got a different set of positive and negatives. We have, on the positive, we have crowdsourcing. We can get information from many different people, which has proven to be actually better at coming up with solutions. It's been proven that crowdsourcing can produce a better solution given a larger sample, and I'm sure Jorge knows that. But we also have the disadvantage of having all these people to have to come to consensus. So those things are now.
Those things are now. We lost you after you said that, Perry. Were you trying to say something more? Or are you just saying those things are now? Also, Jorge, I don't hear you right now.
Things were now.
Okay. Was that the end of your sentences, Perry, or did you want to say anything else there? I'm imagining that maybe Perry has an internet issue or something.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm just talking to myself. Jesus.
I don't know if you went on mute there or something, Perry. We heard most what you said, but then you said those things are now, and then you went silent for about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. I think you got the general point. So thank you. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Perry, and Jorge too, for the very thoughtful and interesting, very fascinating systems engineering approach for optimize our community. I think that's really awesome to optimize it and efficient, really helpful. So thank you for sharing those thoughts very much, Perry and Jorge. If either of you guys want to add more to that, or if anybody else has any thoughts about this, then we'd be happy to hear it. Also, welcome, Lisa. Thanks for joining too. Hope you're doing well.
Sorry I'm late.
No problem. I heard you had some issues going on, but I'm glad you were able to make it, and I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah. What did I miss?
Cool. What did you miss? There's a whole big thing.
Everything.
Oh, you missed my internet going out.
Okay, well, that's one thing. Yeah, Tadas also said it has to go. We'll share some thoughts about the system engineering course later. So thank you to Tadas if you're watching that he just left. But yeah, so Lisa, we were talking, we tried playing a new Cagendas mini game. We called it Tropics today, where we have a Notion database with a bunch of topics that we could discuss from week to week. And so we tried it out for the first time and discussed how it would work. And then Jorge gave a very interesting presentation about systems engineering, and Perry shared some thoughts about there too. So there's been a lot. That's a very high level summary for you. And I could also just maybe share a little presentation to wrap it up too.
And they shared some links only on the Zoom chat because they wanted you to exclude you and Patrick and Vlad.
This is not true, Gnome. Gnome is being facetious here.
I'm joking.
Yeah, so we have a plan to share it with people who are well respected in the community. And Rosmari had said that let's wrap it up soon, I reckon, which I think is probably a good idea because we've been here for almost 3 hours now. So I have a couple of thoughts I could share. I wanted to respond to a couple of things that Jorge had said in his speech there. And then I could also just share a couple takeaways and next steps and so forth, as well as a little recap. And so I could jump into that now. If anybody else wants to jump in and share any comments first, if Jorge, you wanted to respond to anything Perry said there, then feel free to go ahead. If not, or if Noam or Lisa or Rosmari want anything, otherwise I can go ahead and just share a couple responses here, and we can start to wrap it up whenever you're all ready. Jorge, any thoughts, or should I go?
No.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm also looking forward to getting back into the system engineering stuff that you're talking about there. At some point, maybe it'd be good to have a more detailed discussion because you did cut out a bit of it, so it was difficult to understand what you're saying a bit of it, but I think I got most of it though. If you wanted to go over any more of it now, then feel free, or if you wanted to prepare it for a future week, then feel free as well. I think that could be an excellent discussion to get into, and I've really just been very much appreciating you sharing your thoughts both here and in the other Eden on EOS and EOS meetings. We've been sharing lots of thoughts that are very, very helpful for helping communities thrive. One thing you mentioned in the beginning of your speech, you mentioned, I think it was a question, maybe two questions or a comment about, is the stuff I've been proposing and suggesting here like part of like the official protocol of the group, or like did we come to consensus about it as far as using Notion and Slido and Tropics and so forth? And just to respond to that, the consensus was formed with the Eden plus Fractal Council in week 28 to organize our agenda with Cagendas, and also to elect me as moderator as well. But more importantly, to start using Cagendas game, which we defined where there's a proposal if you go to edenfractal.com/28 where you could see exactly what we propose and approve. But basically that just approved the current system that we're using to choose topics for each week, and that's kind of how I've just been using all of these. Basically, I'm just proposing topics on consortium, and then whichever topic gets proposed to have the most votes, or proposed and then gets the most votes, is the one gets discussed. And so in all cases, when I've introduced Notion and Slido and Tropics, these have all just been topic proposals on consortium that have had the most votes that week, or otherwise, if they had the second most votes, we got to them at some point. So they've been approved kind of just bootstrapping on the Cagendas game. And if anybody doesn't, want these tools or games or anything like that, feel free to let me know. I'm very happy to hear your feedback. And everybody's also very welcome to propose a different topic in Cagendas. And if that has more votes, then that would be what's discussed. But basically, that's just how it's been working, where I've just been proposing Tropics, Notion, Slido, all these things as Cagenda games. And I've been voting for it, or other people have been voting for it. And that's just been what has had the most votes so far. I see Rosmari said she has to go get dinner. Thanks for sticking around, Rosmari. If you do want to just head out, then you don't need to wait, but really appreciate you being here and all your help and awesomeness. I think we should wrap it up within the next 10 minutes or so at the latest. But I did want to respond to Jorge there. I'd be curious if you have any other thoughts. And I see Perry has a hands up, so I'll pass it over to Perry, and then I can wrap it up with some just next steps from today's meeting, and perhaps if you all want, we can put on some hats or something like that pretty soon. But Perry, I'll pass it to you first.
Well, I just want to appreciate what Jorge said, that we didn't really vote on what we're going to do, but yeah, so that's he's right about that. It's harder to operate in that sense. However, we're also innovating. Right, and so Dan, you've got ideas, and you want to introduce these ideas, and so we've got this dynamic between us all, where what do? Do we innovate, or do we operate? Right, but we need to do both. Do we innovate, or do we operate? And so I think Jorge is talking about operation. And Dan, what you're doing is you're innovating, and we need both. I don't know what the answer is. What I think, I guess if I was to take a stab at it at this point, it has to do with our mission, our values, and our bylaws. Which is what I've been talking about forever. Okay, I'm good. I'm done.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Glad you're enjoying it too. Good insights. And yeah, I hope and I want us to cooperatively innovate while cooperating. I think that's a nice balance there. And yeah, also to be clear too, I was the only one who proposed a topic for this week on Cagendas and consortium, and I didn't even vote for it. Nobody voted. So if anybody would have proposed a topic and voted for it with one Eden respect point, then that would have been the topic we discussed. So if in the future you want to use a different tool or talk about something different, then anybody can do that. I encourage you to do so. I'm often just making topics kind of last minute because I have exciting ideas, and if nobody else proposed something, then I'm happy to help lead it with whatever innovation that I see can help us cooperate and innovate as effectively as possible. But in the future, anybody can make a topic and vote for it, and it would not be very difficult because this had 0 votes. I was the only person who made a topic, and nobody voted for it. So, but that's the system how it works, though, and that can be a helpful way to balance what we're doing and while we refine our processes. So yeah, Jorge or Perry or Rosmari or Lisa, if you have any thoughts about this, then feel free. Happy to hear from you either now or feel free to reach out whenever in the Telegram chat. And then just to also summarize, Rosmari said maybe we can vote for Tropics next time as today was just a topic. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm figuring. For Tropics, we can kind of like, anybody can pose a topic on Cagendas. It doesn't have anything to do with Tropics, but Tropics can be the Cagendas topic that we propose using the Cagendas process or Cagendas game. So anybody can vote with Cagendas on consortium, and then I or anybody else can say, oh, let's vote to play Tropics again. And that's why I kind of called it a mini game of Cagendas. This is all happening within Cagendas, but it's a different type of Cagendas game where we're just organizing a little bit different notions, stuff like that. Although I don't know if it'd be a TP. I guess it could be a TP. It could be a topic proposal, or just a topic. Either way works, I suppose. And glad to hear there's some funny comments talking about respectful greetings and Rosmari eating dinner and so forth. And so anyway, good to see lots of respectful and fun conversation, and hope you enjoy that dinner. And then I also want to say, before we wrap it up, a couple last things I wanted to just add for next meeting and future meetings. I do think that we can propose to keep using this Tropics game if people like it. I think it works pretty well so far. And we can, of course, modify it, or if anybody has anything else in mind, then of course you're welcome to propose that, and encourage you to do so. I did want to just share my screen again because there was a couple like cool results from it, but actually again kind of confused now. Yeah, maybe I'll just share it again so these can be some inspiration for next week's topics that we could discuss. I have it over here. First off, some people said how they were feeling, and people said they were feeling great. That was me who said great. And somebody said amazing, and then Eric said he was feeling like a lion too. So that's good that people are feeling well and feeling like a lion too, as the giraffe is eating. The giraffe is once again kind of a homage to More Equal Animals and Dan and Fractalien, everybody who talk about giraffe ears with nonviolent communication. And then the topics that we discussed, if I go back here, then these are the topics that were next. So I suppose I'll just leave the poll open. And as we discussed previously, I think Rosmari proposed a good plan about just creating a private Telegram group. So maybe I'll do that, or Rosmari will do that, or if anyone else wants to take the initiative, then feel free. And Jorge said, let's not adopt the Tropics name, please. We can consider that, Jorge, because I'm kind of liking it a lot as I'm saying it. And it's fractal. It's talk about fractals. We don't have to. I'm open to different, but I think it should have a name other than like Notion database game or something. Tropics, I don't know. I'm open to it, but open to discussion. Perhaps that can be a discussion next week too. And I have some exciting ideas about tele sessions and updates with Sync that we can talk about, and all these different things. Perry mentioned about inviting Gnome, and we also have discussions about Zoom news and alternative video solutions and lots of other topics too. If anybody wants to, I'll also work on setting up that integration between Typeform and Notion, so people can just easily submit a topic to the Notion database without needing to actually have to sign up for Notion or have a guest account. But yeah, I also encourage if anybody wants to just have access to this page, so you can help design and help write it and also add topics, then feel free to reach out to me and I'll add you as a guest here. If anybody else want to do their own Notion page, they could too, but I just figured I could start it up and organize it. I see Rosmari is waving, so thank you, Rosmari, and enjoy. Bon appetit. If you want to share any last comments, feel free. Otherwise, I think we could probably wrap it up too. Anybody else have any thoughts that they want to share?
Yeah, at the count of 3. Go eat them, Fractal.
Sounds great. I'm going to get a hat real quick because I'm just kind of used to doing this now at the end of the meetings. If anybody else wants to, feel free, or else we can just go quick.
I'll use my glasses as my hat.
There we go. Sounds good. Well, yeah, thanks everybody so much for all the awesome conversations.
Lisa
Awesome
finds a
meeting.
hat, I'll find a hat.
Is Lisa going to find a hat? Often she comes in clutch with like a badger hat or something. Oh, she's in Lisa's coffee shop now.
It's a raccoon, but yeah, I'm gonna see if I can make a live hat. This is the
Okay.
plan.
No,
A live hat with the plant. It looks more
I'm
like
not
shade.
sure if it's working.
Is it a pink flower? I see something pink above
It
your
is.
head.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, she got a pink flower.
Okay,
Oh,
there we go. Yes, live hat. There you
looks
go.
very nice and tropical. See that, Jorge? Tropical, huh?
I probably will have bugs in my ears, but
It's worth it. I hope. Hopefully, you don't have bugs in your ears. My hat always gets away in the Zoom thing too, so I have to hold it here. And it looks like Jorge's looking all around for a hat somewhere. If you can't find a hat, that's not a big deal too. Oh, there we go. A wonderful no hat you got there. All right, should we count down? What's that?
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1, 0.
Go Eden Fractal.
Go Eden Fractal!
Fractal.
All right, thanks very so much. See you.